Why should have America played a role in the French Revolution? Well, first off, let's think, what was the French Revolution? The French Revolution began in 1789 and ended in the late 1790s. This was quickly followed by the ascent of Napoleon Bonaparte. Inspired by the American Revolution and Enlightenment ideals, the French citizens redesigned their country's political landscape during this period of time, uprooting centuries-old institutions such as absolute monarchy, the feudal system, and replaced them with concepts of popular sovereignty and inalienable rights. Although the citizens of France tried to uproot these systems, it failed to achieve all of its goals and sometimes became a horror show of detached heads. However, this movement played a critical role in shaping modern nations by showing the world the power of the will of the people. Why should have America aided France? To be honest, the French played a key role in winning the war for freedom during the American Revolutionary War. Not only did France provide America with ground troops, they also provided a strong navy that was the keystone in defeating Britain. The people of the U.S. were ready to aid the French in their revolution. In fact, America's political system split into two different parties over this dispute. France spent about 1.3 billion livres, which was the French currency at the time, which is about 14,593,800,000 US dollars in current time. It was because of their enormous spending towards the war effort which caused major damage to France's economy. Marquis de Lafayette, known as the hero of two worlds, was a Frenchman who played a prominent role in the American Revolution. His tactical leadership won America many victories, and he secured many resources from France, such as soldiers and supplies. He also wrote the Declaration of Independence for France with the help from Thomas Jefferson. Why America decided not to help France? We avoided getting involved in the French Revolution because we believed that getting involved would destabilize the new government, especially because Britain, still a force to be reckoned with, was right across the Atlantic Ocean ready to kill the U.S. Although Britain wanted to kill the U.S. wanted to have very good relations with Britain at the same time. That was another reason why we avoided interfering with France's revolution. Even though America was against monarchy, King Louis and Marie Antoinette were the ruling monarchs which helped the American Revolution and were in rule during the beginning of the French Revolution. America was undecided between supporting the revolution or the monarchy. George Washington, seeing this issue, decided not to step in, and the king and queen, who were not the best at managing their country's situation, and their attempts to appease the people failed badly. And the king and queen were eventually caught trying to escape their castle and were beheaded. Why would it have been better for France if they had a hand? If America intervened, there probably wouldn't have been a lot of lives lost. Many people were executed by the deadly guillotine, and a lot of them were innocent. Especially prominent during the Reign of Terror with Maximilien Robespierre at its head. Maximilien Robespierre headed the revolutionary and created the Jacobins Club. From 1798 to 1800, the French and the U.S. were in an undeclared war because of the U.S. refused to pay back the new government since the old government helped the U.S. Speaking of money, the economy was completely destroyed from helping out America. New government didn't really help the economy and didn't address the current problems. Instead, they were too focused on trying to maintain their government. Speaking of their government, radical government. America most likely would have helped new French government with diplomatic and military issues to prevent a bloody disaster. They could have intervened, sent advisors or ambassadors that could have helped before it became too radicalized. Many of the leaders of the French Revolution were not experienced politicians and only knew that in theory how law worked. Many of the leaders in the French Revolution were not experienced politicians and only knew in theory how law worked. This led to the next big thing. There was corruption. There was a lot of corruption. Take the French Directory, for instance. They were so afraid of having royalists sneak into their ranks and steal power to revive the monarchy that this made it easy for Napoleon to climb up and pave his way to a dictatorship in France. Napoleon and dictatorship. Napoleon's conquests for power led to rocky relations between U.S. and Britain, which is a kind of counterproductive because America tried to be friends with Britain earlier by not supporting the French Revolution. He established himself as the Emperor of France. His power was confirmed by the new Constitution of the year 8, originally devised to give Napoleon a minor role, but rewritten by Napoleon and accepted by direct popular vote, 3 million in favor, 1,567 opposed. The Constitution preserved the appearance of the Republic, but in reality established a dictatorship kind of like Napoleon the Pig. Lafayette is important again. He used to be friends with Napoleon, but they became distant as he realized that Napoleon's vision of leading France became to lose democracy and its goals. Napoleon eventually gets kicked out, and all corruption and Napoleon's downfall later then paved the way for monarchy returning to rule to France. In the long run, we wouldn't have had to put up so much effort into good relations with France if we just helped them in their revolution. Think of it like this. Much like a TV show, the U.S. was the new kid in school. France befriended them, but soon the new kid, the U.S., wanted to be friends with the popular kid, Britain, and they cut off ties with their old friend. They don't end up being friends with the popular kid, and they lose a pretty good friend in the... Even though we wanted to have good relationships with Britain, the relationship part of that obviously failed and led to the War of 1812. And America looked weak in Britain's gaze. America's refusal to help or even pay back France resulted in the Quasi-War and led political discord at home, which was the undeclared war between France and America. If they had helped France, they could have had one or more ally in Europe.